Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastyatyarishatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Hari Go Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo, 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 Gora Haribo. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Swayam Vishnupada Paramahansa Paribhajacharya Ashtotar Shrimad Abhayacharya Naravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitalila Pravishnum Vishnupada Ashtotar Shrimad Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Thakur Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki, Sadguru Swami ki, Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shiva Shari Gaur Bhakti Vrinda ki, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Kapurvina Shamakunda Radha Kundi Giri Gopanan ki, Vrindavan Dham ki, Mayapur Dham ki, Gangamai ki, Jamunamai ki, Tulsi Devi ki, Bhakti Devi ki, Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda ki, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki, Brihat Midanga ki, Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glory to the assembled devotees, all glory to the assembled devotees, all glory to the assembled devotees, all glory to Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. So today, I'll just be departing a little bit from some of the past efforts, and maybe in the next few classes in English, I will speak about Shikshastikam. But this particular one, I'm addressing specifically to a situation that exists in Trinidad. Trinidad is in lockdown and maybe a heavier lockdown. So while on the one hand, of course, we have to follow the established regulations by the government, whatever place we may be in at any point in time. On the other hand, we should not allow that any situation, be disease, personal problems, world situations, plagues, wars, famines, they should never discourage us, or nor should they ever interfere with our Krishna consciousness. So I'm just going to read one verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, which is kind of related, and then speak about some other points. So this is the 4th canto, 30th chapter, text number 35. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Creation of the fourth order, the activities of the Prachetas. Yatre Dyanti Kata Mishtas Krishnaya Prashamo Yataha Nirvayam Yatra Bhuteshu Nodbego Jatra Kashtana. Whenever, translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada, whenever pure topics of the transcendental world are discussed, the members of the audience forget all kinds of material hankerings, at least for the time being. Not only that, but they are no longer envious of one another, nor do they suffer from anxiety or fear.
What's a good verse again? Canto 4, what chapter?
4th canto, 30th chapter, text 35.
4:35. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Purport. Vaikuntha means without anxiety, and the material world means full of anxiety. As stated by Prahlad Maharaj, Sada Samudayang Nadiyam Asadgrahat, Srimad Bhagavatam 755. The living entities who have accepted this material world as a residence are full of anxiety. A place immediately becomes Vaikuntha whenever the holy topics of the personality of Godhead are discussed by pure devotees. This process of Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Srimad Bhagavatam 7:5-23, chanting and hearing about the Supreme Lord Vishnu. As the Supreme Lord himself confirms, Naham tishtami vaikunte yoginam hridayashu vatra tishtami narada jatra gayanti madbhakta. My dear Narada, Actually, I do not reside in my abode, Vaikuntha, nor do I reside in the hearts of the yogis, but I reside in that place where my pure devotees chant my holy name and discuss my form, pastimes, and qualities. Because of the presence of the Lord in the form of the transcendental vibration, the Vaikuntha atmosphere is invoked. This atmosphere is without fear and anxiety. One entity does not fear another. By hearing the holy names and glories of the Lord, a person executes pious activities. Shundatam Sukata Krishna Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanam. Srimad Bhagavatam 1:2-17. Thus, his material hankerings immediately stop. This Sankirtan movement, started by the Society for Krishna Consciousness, is meant for creating Vaikuntha, the transcendental world that is without anxiety, even in this material world. The method is the propagation of the Shravanam Kirtana. Srimad Bhagavatam 7:5-23. Process throughout the method of propagation of Shravanam Kirtanam process throughout this material world. The method is to propagate. In the material world, everyone is envious of his fellow man. Animalistic envy exists in human society as long as there is no performance of Sankirtan Yagya, the chanting of the holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The Prachetas therefore decided to remain always in the society of devotees, and they considered that to be the highest benediction possible in human life. Om Jnanitmirandasya Ganam Jana Sharakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Maham Darati Shvaparantika. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavati Pastyanta Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So I decided on this particular verse because it, just like in the Srimad Bhagavatam, a very wonderful set of verses in the first canto. The first canto, 7th chapter, starts with 4th verse, and goes, I think, to the 8th verse, and or the 7th verse. So the 7th verse, Yasyam vai shriyamanayam Krishne paramapurushe bhaktir utpadyate pumsam shokamoha bhayapaha. Which basically means that by giving oral reception, by hearing this Vedic literature, just 1 second to get rid of this. What's up here? And developing a loving feeling for devotional service for Krishna, that loving relationship sprouts up, utpadyate, it sprouts up, and distinguishes the difficulties coming from lamentation, the illusion, and fearfulness. In other words, shoka moha bhaya. Shoka, lamentation, moha, illusion, bhaya, fear. In the 4th chapter, 10th verse of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha. And this is also, these words are spoken also in the second chapter, 56th verse, no, where it says Vita raga baya krodha stitadir muni uchate. So man maya mamupashitaha. When one takes shelter of Krishna, what happens? Attachment, fear, and anger go away. Now, Srila Prabhupada writes, I just took and extracted something from his purport. Srila Prabhupada writes in that purport, one has to get rid of all three stages of material consciousness. Attachment, raga, attachment to material life, bhaya, fear of spiritual personal identity, and krodha, the conception of void that arises from frustration. In that particular verse of 410 Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada gives such a brilliant explanation of these things. That there's, so attachment to material life, that's easy, we can understand that. Yashyatma buddhir kunape tritaduke, as it says in the Bhagavatam, that when one is attached to this body, kunape tridaduke, body, a bag, which is like a bag made full of three elements. Just like we know the story of liquid beauty, where the contents of the body are exhibited in the form of vomit and stool. It's not very nice. As Prahlad Maharaj said, the material body produces three things: urine, stool, and bad odors. That's what we get out of this material body. So that's an easy one to understand. Fear of a spiritual personal identity. Now this Srila Prabhupada, if you read that, I always recommend that purport. It's very beautiful purport, 410. Very beautiful purport to study. So Srila Prabhupada makes the basic point, just paraphrasing, that because we have so many bad experiences from our contaminated or our illusory personality, otherwise the illusion that covers our personality. And personality creates so many difficulties in the material world that sometimes we think that better not to have personality, and therefore the Mayavad philosophy. So many difficult personal relationships, divorce, death, separation, and so many things to do with enemy, so many emotions that can arise, which can cause us difficulties. So therefore, there's a fear of a spiritual personal identity. Otherwise, if I had the spiritual personal identity, these things will continue to exist. And they do exist in the spiritual world. They do exist, but they don't exist. They don't cause anxiety. They cause bliss. Even though there is anxiety in the spiritual world, but that anxiety is blissful. Just like any mother, we have some mothers here in the audience today. Any mother feels anxiety about their children all the time, but that anxiety produces remembrance of my child, or we remember a wife or a husband when the other one is traveling or doing something difficult, or we're separated from them. That creates anxiety, but that anxiety produces happiness by the remembrance. But in the spiritual world, there's already bliss, and then the bliss is increased by the anxiety of different situations. So, it says Vaikuntha means free from anxiety, free from a material inebriety, or material the fear of loss of fight. Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita that I took this from one purport. There are two kinds of trembling of the body, two kinds of standing of the hairs on end. Such phenomena occur either in great spiritual ecstasy or out of great fear under material conditions. There is no fear in transcendental realization. Arjuna's symptoms in this situation are out of material fear, namely loss of life. This is evident from other symptoms also. He became so impatient that his famous bow, Gandiva, was slipping from his hands, and because his heart was burning within him, he felt a burning sensation of the skin. These are all due to a material conception of life. So this type of anxiety, this type of fear is unwanted. That was from purport from 129, where Arjuna begins to express his anxiety. And so, what is the solution? The solution is that we participate in the Sankirtan movement as being recommended here in this particular verse that we just read. In that verse, it says, it gives the solution at the end, that the Sankirtan movement is meant for creating Vaikuntha. Otherwise, your house, your home becomes Vaikuntha, because all of the material conditions that may exist, they are they're, they may be there, but the Vaikuntha atmosphere. Otherwise, when our chanting of the holy name is so constant and so intense that we go beyond all of this. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada says that the Sankirtan Yagya is not only the solution for ending fear. And where does fear come from? Envy. The envy that exists within our hearts. So that, of course, Lord Nrsingadev's appearance is coming up in a few days, Nrsimha Chaturdasi. And that's one of the verses. He one of the prayers that Prahlad Maharaj makes, which I usually read on that day, and I may do so, that it produces. Prahlad Maharaj prays, may all the envious living beings be pacified. And how will they be pacified? By the Sankirtan movement. That's how we will all be pacified. So we have to propagate the Sankirtan movement. And to propagate the Sankirtan movement, we have to be free from fear. And to be free from fear, we have to understand, just like it said in the Bhagavatam, that Vayam Dvitiya Viniveshatasya Ishara Vipasya Viparyayo Ashmiti. That Vayam, fear or anxiety, because fear means anxiety. If you have no fear, what is the anxiety of material existence? The anxiety of material existence is fear of death, fear, as Srila Prabhupada said, fear of loss of life, fear that this body will cease to exist. And what is the cause? Dvitiya abhiniveshata. The secondary. Dvitiya means secondary. Dvitiya abhinivesha. The secondary manifestation that is there. And what is that? Maya. Ishara apetasya viparyayo. Viparyaya means the opposite. So otherwise the opposite comes about. Instead of the Isha being the Lord and ourselves being the servants, we want to be the Lords and we want to tell Krishna what to do. We want to dictate to Krishna. Although we may do it in a pious way by some prayer, the essence of the prayer is that Krishna becomes my order supplier. So then the verse goes on to say, Tan maya to Buddha abhijat tam. That because of this maya, one should Buddha abhijat, one should become very intelligent, and one should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhaktyai kesham Gurudeva Tatma. Bhakta Eka Isham. Bhakta Ekaya Isham. One should exclusively through the process of bhakti, which is given to one by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is like Guru Deva Atma, who is like one's who is very dear to oneself and representative of all the demigods. We should take shelter of Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga, and the holy name of the Lord. And then we will be able to overcome this anxiety-ridden condition of material existence, of the material world. So why am I saying this? Just I was talking to somebody just before this class, somebody from Trinidad, and I was asking, so because I had heard that somebody mentioned, maybe it was Achala Dharaka or someone else, that, oh, there's going to be, the lockdown, the recent, so more cases have come out, there'll be a lockdown, increasing in the lockdown. So, and many, and it was, the comment was, many devotees are afraid to come to the temple. So, of course, we have to follow the government, but we also have to follow Srila Prabhupada. How many times did Srila Prabhupada say, you must take a risk for Krishna? Because Srila Prabhupada said even more often about risk. You take the risk of taking another body, another birth in this material world. We're very, we're very sometimes careless in taking that risk, being attached to material things, being fearful of material existence, and being angry because Krishna didn't arrange things like I want. And therefore our Krishna consciousness sometimes suffers because of these tendencies to be fearful, to be in anxiety, to be, this is not our natural condition. Our natural condition is to be fearless. A devotee is just like Srila Prabhupada. Most of us have heard how Srila Prabhupada in the World War II, bombs were dropping on Calcutta and he was taking prasadam. He was saying, let me take prasadam. One time the devotees asked Srila Prabhupada, what happens? What should we do? Because some devotees there was a threat of war in the 1960s, especially when Srila Prabhupada mentioned that there could very well be a war between India and Pakistan, and the US and Russia would join on either side, US for Pakistan, Russia for India at that time. And then there would be and there would be a world war. Actually, Prabhupada said that America would win because they have on their money, in God we trust. So, and there are many people in the US that want to take that off. Atheists. They say, oh, we don't believe in God. Why should it be on our money? So the Prabhupada said, because they have that on their money, then they will come out victorious. Of course, now Russia has changed. Many things have changed. The material world is always changing. But my point is, the Prabhupada was not fearful. So the devotees were talking like this, and they said, Prabhupada, what do we do? And Prabhupada said, just like if you hear it, because he had heard bombs falling from the sky. So his Prabhupada said, just if you hear the bomb falling, Prabhupada, you start kirtan. And Prabhupada said, you can finish in Vaikuntha. So this was Prabhupada's answer. And Prabhupada said again and again, we should take risk. But what is that risk? It doesn't mean we risk our lives. It doesn't mean we foolishly and somehow or another subject ourselves to dangerous conditions. Although material existence, we should not be so fearful of material existence that we don't take the risk. And what is that risk? Srila Prabhupada said the risk is preaching. So I found another quote which I'd like to say at this time. Prabhupada said that the Guru takes the risk to save the disciple from a hellish condition. So what is that risk? Just like Srila Prabhupada, in Vrindavan, they told him, don't go to the West. Don't, what are you going to do? You could die. There are so many people, the modes of nature. Srila Prabhupada took that risk, even arriving. Prabhupada said, my dear Lord, I don't know what you want me to do here. He saw these cars, going back and forth in Boston. And what to speak of nowadays. Actually, Prabhupada was when he was in Caracas. At that time, the temple was up on a hill, and kind of a mountain, like, and you look down into the valley, and Caracas is in a valley. It's between two mountain ranges, kind of. So Prabhupada saw the highway there, and he looked and he said, just like ants, they are going. You see all the cars lined up and going back and forth. So Prabhupada, just like ants, they're going, they're building up. Maya will come, knock it down, and they build it up again. Just like if you go up to an ant hill and you kick it over, then all the ants are scrabbling around. Then after you come back the next day and the ant hill is there again. So time travels through material existence. I gave this example many times, just like a rope. If you take a rope and you tie it to the wall or someplace and you go like this, you create a wave and the wave will move through the rope. So the wave of time is moving through material existence, moving through matter. And the wave comes. So on that wave, there will be, the Greek Empire, the Roman Empire, the Ottoman Empire, the British Empire, the Spanish Empire, now the American Empire, maybe next the Chinese Empire, and then some other empire, and this is the material existence. And we base we think that I'm safe, and we may be safe from certain types of thieves or rogues or something, but even in our temple in Trinidad, we were attacked by rogues. Came and they stole things and tried to put devotees into fear. So this can happen to anyone, anywhere. In the 12th canto of the Bhagavatam, it says that, it says that even sometimes our leaders are acting like rogues, and through excessive taxation and excessive control, they are creating so much anxiety in our lives. So, but this fearful condition, is offset by the sadhus. So this is what Srila Prabhupada said. So the sadhus, they take the risk of becoming friendly and merciful to the fallen conditioned souls, and they preach the message of Godhead. Therefore, their mercy is required. They are very merciful by nature. By nature, they are merciful. One who is sadhu, one who is devotee, by nature, he has developed that merciful quality, friendly quality. So their business is to enlighten those who are ignorant. But those who are fully absorbed in this material concept of life, therefore they preach. And we have to take that mercy. If we don't accept, suppose a man is falling in a pit and he's trying to come out, and another man drops a rope, please catch it. I shall pull you out of the pit. He does not catch it. So what is the hope? So this is our condition. I sometimes gave the example, just like someone, you're in the ocean drowning and the helicopter comes, they put a rope, then you grab the rope and they start to pull you out. And you say, well, wait a minute, my wallet. And you drop off the rope, go down in the water, look for your wallet. They pull you out again. Oh, my glasses. You drop down again, look for the glasses. Then they pull you out again. Oh, what about my, my money? So this is what we keep doing. The devotees are trying to pull us out. And in this particular verse, what does it say? The solution is the association of the Vaishnavas, sadhu sangha, of the 5 most essential processes of devotional service. Sadhu sangha, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says sadhu sangha, nama kirtan. First sadhu sangha, because without sadhu sangha, there cannot be good kirtan. Otherwise, without associating and hearing the holy name from others, just like we all have the wonderful opportunity to hear the holy name, Srila Prabhupada chanting, the topmost pure devotee, and that can purify us. But then if we keep dropping off the rope, otherwise we chant and then we drop off the rope of the saving quality of the holy name, because I have to do this and I have to do that and I have so many other things. And so we will be stricken with fear. And that is a very, very unfortunate condition. So we have to take these risks. And what are the risks that we take? Risk doesn't mean we risk our lives. One time, somebody had devotees, had gone, I think it was Brahmananda and Gargamuni, and some other devotees had gone to Pakistan. And right after they went, and because they thought that, Prabhupada said, take a risk, and there was almost like a war starting. It was a big problem. And then a few days later, there was a big problem. And Prabhupada said, get in touch with them, tell them to immediately come back. They should not take this risk. This is a foolish risk. So risk means that we take the risk of giving up our comfort. We take the risk of giving up some conditioned part of our conditioning that holds us into the material existence. We give that up, and we try to take a risk for Krishna. So the point I'm getting at is that when there are these disasters like lockdowns, plagues, COVID, whatever the plague may be, there may be one plague after another. So what do? Do we just stay at home? The government told me to stay at home. Okay. But if the government allows you to go out and distribute some prasadam, go out and distribute the holy name, go out and distribute some books, do it safely, wear a mask, keep your distance. Actually, I just saw a statistic that said less than 1% of COVID is actually caught outside. It's almost always inside. And even when it's outside, the article said, generally it's a family gathering where people are sitting very closely together, or they're playing some sport and breathing very heavily, or even in some of our cases, kirtan, where the devotees are too close together and someone is contagious and others become affected. So this is the condition of the material world, that we don't want to be put into a fearful consciousness, a consciousness of anxiety, a consciousness of, that I can't go out, or what will happen, I may get COVID. I see people even driving around in a car alone with the windows up, air conditioning on, and they have a mask on. Well, the other day I went walking. There was one, it was like a huge park in Florida. It's like, 150-acre park. And I was the only other person in the park. There was somebody it was like they were like at least 200 yards away, 200 meters away. And when they saw me, they put on their mask. Like this is out in the middle of the woods, trees and everywhere. And, and I, even the wind was blowing from them to me. So the wind was even blowing in the opposite direction, and they put on their mask. So this is called fear. This type of fear, we should take precautions and everything, but we shouldn't be fearful. We should be taking advantage that people are fearful and free them from fear. Help free them from fear. How do we free them from fear? We give them Krishna consciousness. We give them this hope. There's two symptoms of advanced devotional service: ashabandha, samutkanta. Ashabandha means the hope. We always are hopeful that by performing devotional service, everything will be resolved. And samutkanta, we are always enchanted by the fact that devotional service is bringing us closer to the lotus feet of Krishna. And as it says here, it will free us from fear and anxiety. And we can give up our whole material existence, as the verse that I just said, that by having full faith in the message coming from the parampara and becoming very, very absorbed in Krishna consciousness, There's another quote, a similar quote that I also wanted to read, similar to this purport, which is very beautiful, speaking about the Sankirtan movement. In this age, however, it is very difficult to find qualified Brahmins who can perform sacrifices as prescribed in the Vedas. Therefore, it is recommended in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Yogyai Sankirtana Praya, that by performing Sankirtan Yagya and by satisfying the Jagya Purusha, Lord Chaitanya, one can derive all the results derived by great sacrifices in the past. King Pitu and others derived all the necessities of life from the earthly planet by performing great sacrifices. Now this Sankirtan movement has already been started by the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. People should take advantage of this great sacrifice and join the society's activities. Here, I'm just taking a pause. The society's activities, not the society. It's not by becoming a member of ISKCON that anything happens. It is by performing the activities that are given to us, by being part of the society, which means the association of the Vaishnavas. Then there will be no scarcity. If the Sankirtan Yagya is performed, there will be no difficulty, not even in industrial enterprises. So here Srila Prabhupada is being practical. He's saying, Prabhupada generally didn't speak very favorably about industry, but he's saying even in this industrial society, if we're chanting the holy name, and just like nowadays, within our technological industrial society, people are trying to find greener ways, let's stop the greenhouse gases, let's improve the environment, let's stop the global warming. So Prabhupada said, even if you take proper use of technology, just like one time Srila Prabhupada was flying over the desert in the US, and he looked down and he saw these lines on the ground. He said, "What is that?" And one devotee said, "Oh, those are irrigation canals, Prabhupada, so that they can grow food in the desert." Prabhupada said, "This is the proper use of technology. This is what technology is for providing food grains, foodstuffs, so that people can be happy and healthy and chant the holy name. Therefore, this system should be introduced in all spheres of life, social, political, industrial, commercial, etc. Then everything will run very peacefully and smoothly." So we should be cautious. We should take care of our health. We should not take unnecessary risks, but we should serve the activities of the Sankirtan movement. Just like I was told by recent temple authorities in Trinidad that, it's hard to get anyone to come and cook. They say that they're afraid to go out. Of course, I can understand if somebody has to take a bus, but I'm sure that if somebody's willing to come and cook and they don't have a vehicle, that we can arrange for transportation. Come and do your service, because otherwise you're taking the risk of birth and death in the material world. So therefore, come. Just like I was just in Alachua, and one devotee mentioned to me, there's like 2,000 devotees there, and they can't get they have to pay someone to clean the temple. Otherwise, out of 2,000 devotees, if one devotee just does service one day, cleans the temple, one day, it takes 2 hours. It doesn't even take 2 hours. Let's say, or two devotees. One cleans the kitchen and pujari room, the other one cleans the temple. Two devotees, that's 1,000. That means you only have to do it once every 3 years. So I'm not willing to go clean the temple once in every 3 years. So sometimes we use fear and anxiety as an excuse just to justify my lack of desire to surrender to the devotional service. I was explaining to one devotee yesterday that one time a devotee asked Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur if he could take sannyas. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, yes, but first you must do some humble service. So the devotee went to the cook and he said, Guru Maharaj has told us I must do some humble service, told me, therefore, please allow me to serve prasadam to the devotees. And he said, what? Humble service? Serving prasadam to devotees is a great privilege. No. He said, even our sannyasis, even our Guru Maharaj serves prasadam to the devotees. He said, you want humble service? You see these pots? No, big pile of pots? That's your humble service. You see that floor with grease on it? That is your humble service. So we're supposed to develop humility. We're supposed to develop tolerance. This is Shikshastika. So we must do these things. And we have to be free from fear. We have to go and serve the Sankirtan movement. We take advantage of this lockdown time. Even if you don't want to go out and meet people, then call people that you know. Just like we should always be trying to reach out to people, get their address, get their phone number, or get their email. You call them, you write a message, you write a letter, you know, and then you can, you can call them up and preach to them, or you can call another devotee, Prabhu, I haven't seen you in the temple. Of course, maybe I haven't been there either because lockdown, but maybe we can get together, just like so many devotees. In one of our communities here in, not here, but in Mexico, the devotees at 5:30 in the morning, they connect on the internet and they all chant japa together because they can't go to the temple. So they all connect at 5:30, from 5:30 to 7. And so everybody's sitting there chanting in the association of Vaishnavas, even in the comfort of their own home. So these are different ways that we can do what Srila Prabhupada is telling us to do, to be connected with the Sankirtan movement, to be connected with Krishna conscious activities, the society's activities. Otherwise, we have to serve. We can't just think, I have my little altar in the home, I chant my rounds. That's not enough. That may be enough if you're so busy that you can't do anything else. But even if you do that, at least you should give some donations, some financial contributions, some help, this is our duty to the deity. Many times I've said that it amazes me anywhere I go that people come, I'm talking about devotees, even many of them initiated, second initiation, they come to the temple, they get a full meal, and sometimes full meal for 3 or 4 or 5 family members. Now, how much would it cost you in a restaurant to get that full meal? In the US, to take a family to a full meal and vegetarian or Govinda's restaurant, whatever, it's going to cost you $25, maybe 25, 30 US to have a full, nice meal. And then I've seen it, no donation, no service. So, of course, Srila Prabhupada said the temple is made for that. One time I went to Guru Vayor temple in South India, and every day they have prasadam distributions. Many pilgrims that they come, they give free meals. And Srila Prabhupada said, the temple used to be the community center. People would come to eat, people who had no money, but then they would do some service. They would feel obligated. They would feel grateful to do some service. And I've seen devotees come to the temple, take prasadam, and they criticize. Oh, didn't have enough spices. Oh, didn't have this, or wasn't like this, or so-and-so's like this. So where is that gratitude that's being expressed here in this verse? The gratitude. If we don't like something, and I say you can complain, but how do you complain? You go and show them how it should be done. I'm complaining about this. Therefore, I will come in the mood of service. I will come and show the best way, how to do it with the best attitude. I will do that. This is the Vaishnava meaning, not that we simply criticize. There are so many things we can criticize, but the best way to criticize is constructive criticism, which means you give good advice to help that person become more Krishna conscious. But the best way to give good advice is to give the example. So let us give the example in Trinidad and everywhere of taking advantage of this chaotic situation and not fill our lives and our hearts with fear, but fill our lives and hearts with the hope that Krishna, we must know that Krishna is allowing this to happen. You know, even some people believe it's a conspiracy. So let's say it's a conspiracy, but the conspiracy is being conducted under the material energy supervised by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It has a purpose. So the devotee will see the ultimate purpose is so that I can increase my service to society by giving out more books, by giving out prasadam, by giving out good advice. This is how we deal with the crisis of material existence, not by becoming fearful, and that fear sometimes becomes a pretext for not serving Krishna. So there are so many reasons why we shouldn't serve, but the one reason why we should is it because it will please Krishna, it will please Sri Guru, it will please everyone. So anyway, these are some thoughts I had when I heard about the further lockdowns, that lockdown or misfortune means great fortune for the devotees, because we can help people come out of their misfortunate or unfortunate condition, get out of their misfortune. As Srila Prabhupada states, quotes 1.5.11 at the beginning of the every volume of the Bhagavatam, Tadvag Visargo Janataga Viplavo, that this book, the Srimad Bhagavatam, is meant to create a revolution in the impious lives of society. So we should be doing this. This is our business. So whenever there's a difficulty, this is when the devotees, just like the Red Cross, we're like the Golden Cross, the golden. We take the holy name, and we give people hope in times of hopelessness. Most people come to Krishna consciousness either out of necessity or out of anxiety. So the great majority, we all do that because we have some difficulty in our lives. Usually if something's going very well in our lives, we don't take up the Sankirtan movement. We try to keep prospering more and more and more. So this is the Krishna consciousness movement. So anyway, these are some points that I wanted to make in this particular class. So I'll open up for questions. I see a question here. I saw this before the hand of Achaladarka. So this is from Chitra Devi. How about those who already practice Krishna consciousness but are still living in fear? I know some devotees who are so afraid of COVID-19 and others afraid and worry about the current situation in Colombia because of violent protests and economic crisis. In both cases, they are so attached to these situations. How can I help them? So yes, I'm giving this class about those who practice Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, I'm saying that yes, if we see that someone is afraid, we show them how not to be afraid by taking the proper precautions, following the advice, but also showing them let's take advantage. Krishna created the situation. Other not Krishna personally, he's in Goloka Vrindavan with the gopis and the cowherd boys. But he has allowed this situation to come about by the interaction of material nature so that devotees can advance. Devotees can feel the presence of Krishna. So how can one help them? They're attached to those situations. They should be attached to solving those situations. Otherwise, if someone is in Alachua, who's writing is in Alachua, and you're concerned about the protests and economic crisis in Colombia, then send some money to the temple so that they can distribute, send some money, get in touch with our leader in Medellin is asking for some help. He said, we can increase our outreach. So yes, get in touch, say, let me send you $20 or $50 or $100 a month so that you can distribute some prasadam or more books because as we just read in the purport, the Srila Prabhupada is saying that these books, this Sankirtan Yagya will stop the difficulties, will stop the anxiety, will stop the fear. So help, if I can't do it personally, if I'm Colombian and I'm worried about Colombia, then let me support those devotees who are in Colombia or in Venezuela or in so many places in Latin America, Middle East. We have some devotees who are doing outreach in Middle East. We can help them. We can help in this country, in the US. So many people are, the first thing, raga, they're so attached that they're going to hell. Just like Prahlad Maharaj said in his prayers to Lord Nrsimhadev, Prayena Deva Muniya Swabhimukti Kama. That I see that most of the munis, most of the saintly persons are just worried about their own liberation. And Maunam Charanta Vijane, Sna Parartha Nishta. And therefore they are not Para Artha Nishta. They are not very determined to help others. Naitan Bihaya Kripanan Vivamuksha Eko. And even though these people are miserable, their habits are miserable, their activities are miserable, I cannot think about my liberation because Nanyad Turasya Sharanam Brahmatunupashe, because my Lord, without your mercy, there is no hope. So we should be thinking like that. And here's another question. Unfortunately, since new management in Trinidad, the temple arrangement didn't accommodate devotees. When regulations allowed 50% seating arrangement, was only for 10%. Morning artik is still, as it is, has been 2 or 4 persons. Well, of course, that's very specific, and I understand the anxiety there. Yes, we need to, obviously the 2 or 4 persons that come, that's not because of temple management. That's because it's difficult to go to Mangalartik. And so we have to encourage the devotees by our own example and inviting others. Come once a week. As far as allowing 50% when it was possible, now I understand that the temples are not, even religious organizations are not supposed to be open up to the public at this point in time. But in any case, we should accommodate. We should accommodate. But then one should, my advice, my recommendation, with any temple, because sometimes we don't like the temple management, because we don't like this person, we don't like what they do, and that's understandable. That happens everywhere. But then we should offer our help. Maybe that there's not inviting so many people because we can't, we don't have enough help to feed them. I don't know what the exact, but then we should always offer our services to help better we can give a suggestion and we have to be part of that. Just like we give a solution, and we're part of the solution. That's my recommendation. And of course, if they don't want the help to accept our help, well, that's unfortunate. But we should always be willing and offering that help. That, yes, I want to see a better situation. Here's what I can do. Here's what I will do. And then we listen to their argument. Maybe they have a good argument, maybe they don't. But we listen to their argument. This is positive Krishna consciousness. We have to be very positive. So here's, I think the first person to put their hand up was Achaladarika.
Hare Krishna, Gurudev.
Yes.
Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, surrender unto me, and I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So, is that excessive fearfulness? Could one just say that it is a symptom of faithlessness?
If we're fearful, you mean?
Yeah, the excessive fearfulness you talk about.
Yeah.
Could one just say that is just a symptom of our faithlessness or lack of faith?
Yes, of course. Krishna is saying, you surrender to me, I will save you from fear. So if I'm fearful, it's probably a good indication that I am not, surrendered. No. So therefore, let me surrender more. Instead of trying to become fearless, let me surrender, and then fearlessness will come. It's not that I have to dissect Krishna consciousness and try to take care of every individual thing. Prabhupada said, you don't try to become humble, you don't try to become tolerant. You try to become more Krishna conscious, and these things will automatically show up. Of course, we should try to practice these things, but it's not that, oh, I'm going to try to become humble until I'm really humble. No, it's that let me become more surrendered. Let me associate more. Let me follow Lord Chaitanya's recommendation, associate more, chant more, hear more Bhagavatam, purify my existence, my dwelling place, both my home and my body, which is the dwelling place of the soul. Let them become more suitable places, and let me worship the deity, either by direct worship or by chanting and glorifying, or by bringing a gift, just like I mentioned the last time we had a class, that we should be, every time we go to the temple, we should bring a gift. That's what Rupa Goswami says. At least you bring one flower or you bring something. It's like you see the Indians, they always bring something to the temple. An Indian, a person who grows up with that culture, will always bring something to the temple. They'll bring a little bag of flour, or some sugar, or some rice, or something. They always bring something, because this is the etiquette, that when you come before the deity, you come to serve. No, you don't come to take, you come to serve. So, see.
You had Mother Shandy, she had her hand up just now.
Yeah, okay. Yes. Hare Krishna. Where did she go? I don't see her anymore. Seems like she temporarily dropped out or something. Oh, there she is. I think you have your microphone muted. You have a question? You still have your question? Anyway, we'll go to Chakrapani in the meantime.
Hare Krishna, Gurudev.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So, Gurudev, as you mentioned, that we had the tendency to be, or to take it easy, the process. Like we chant our rounds, we watching the deity at home, and that's all. That we many times we think that is our devotion and service, nothing else, But Krishna say in the Bhagavad Gita in the chapter 1858, that if you act through the false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost, And Srila Prabhupada say in the purport, maybe you can comment about that, Gurudev. He say that, but as soon as he acts in Krishna consciousness, he is liberated, free from the material perplexities. And he continues and say, one should note very carefully that one who is not active in Krishna consciousness, he is losing himself in the material whirlpool. And he mentioned that to the devotees, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you comment?
Well, I mean, the thing is that if we're Krishna conscious, then these things will be automatically there. Otherwise, we'll be free from anxiety, free from fear, free from these conditions. We won't act improperly. And if we do act improperly, if any of these things are present, it means we're not Krishna conscious enough. So, we can find so many quotes from Srila Prabhupada, but we have to practice those things in our spiritual lives. And then it becomes a reality. So if we don't do that, I find many times, even nowadays, it's very popular that one takes courses, different types of courses. There's so many courses available. But just like I was telling one devotee, I think that when we do Bhakti Shastri course, the most important part, the most important part should be cleaning the floor, cleaning the bathroom, doing some humble service, going into the temple and doing some, service, go to the kitchen and cut vegetables. This should be, part of the Bhakti Shastri course, and maybe one of the most important parts. Instead of just learning some verses and getting some understanding of different aspects of Srila Prabhupada's books, which is very important. But if we don't apply it in how we're executing Krishna consciousness, then we will be, what is the chance or the opportunity to become more Krishna conscious? Hare Krishna.
Like you're mentioning it, just say that it came before the lockdown and that nobody else it is closed right now and nobody else can come.
Okay. Guru Maharaj, they told me that Mahananda Prabhu is telling me to tell you that I am here in Madhuban, try to do some service, so I'm very grateful for that opportunity.
Okay. Well, yes, okay, wonderful. I mean, it's wonderful that he's doing that.
Oh, yes.
So, Hare Krishna, now I see you're back again. Please ask your question. I can't hear you now. You have to unmute your microphone. You're speaking, but your microphone is muted.
I was just trying to get it to unmute it, and I myself can't do it. So I don't know if some other technical problem.
Okay, okay, go ahead. Yes, Radha Ballava. Oh, I don't know what happened.
Please accept my obeisances, Guru Maharaj.
Yes.
Okay, so what's happening here is this. My Guru Maharaj, once said that fear is not always a weakness. It's sometimes like you can use it as a safety mechanism. So for the intelligent person, when he experiences the fear, he uses that fear to guard himself against the problem. So in this case, I'm thinking that devotees can still do their service, but take the necessary precaution. So is that a good idea to utilize fear as a safety mechanism?
Yes. Fear, of course, Prahlad Maharaj, he says something very interesting, which Srila Prabhupada explained in the teachings of Queen Kunti, that he said that Prahlad Maharaj, first he says that I'm very fearful of material existence. And then he says that I have no fear of material existence because I'm always chanting your glories. So which is true? So Prabhupada said, just like a mother walking with a child will always be fearful that the child may fall down, that the child may fall in the water. So there's no personal fear, but there's a fear. And in the same way, one should be fearful that my mind will be attracted to Maya. One should be fearful that my senses will deceive me. So that fear has its good side also. But we shouldn't be fearful. We shouldn't allow fear to, otherwise, whenever fear increases our devotional service, it is good. But whenever fear decreases our devotional service, then it's not positive. So actually, everything we can measure in that way. Just like anxiety. A devotee is free from anxiety and full of anxiety. Free from the anxiety of material existence, but full of anxiety to do more service for Krishna. So everything has its two sides, the side that takes us away from Krishna and the side that brings us closer to Krishna. So fear, anxiety, even envy. If we become envious that some devotee is doing better service than me and we take it positively, then we do more service for the pleasure of Krishna, not to try to do better than the devotee, but trying to please Krishna more. Then that's very difficult to do. Therefore, we should simply try to be inspired by the association of devotees. In the spiritual world, that type of spiritual envy is very prominent. Everyone sees someone else doing something for Krishna, and they try to do more. But that type of envy is very good. It's very, very good. So here's a question. Sometimes it seems that the movement has been filled with fear because society judges us. We have filled ourselves with fear, not just because of the pandemic, but because of being different from ordinary people. How can we generate a change of consciousness in our movement? How can we regain the mentality of wanting to conquer society with Krishna consciousness? So this is a very good question. Yes. When we, of course, sometimes devotees don't want to be so different. Otherwise, they may use regular clothing, and especially because people may accept you more. But you should use that acceptance, not so that because I fear that they may think I'm strange, but this will allow me to preach to them better. Not that, well, I don't want people to think I'm a weirdo, because as soon as you speak to people, if you're Krishna conscious, and they say, well, let's go have a beer, then say, oh, I don't drink, then they're going to think you're different. So otherwise, if we're Krishna conscious by our very activities, we will be different. So if one uses certain techniques of dress or eating or something to fit in better so that we can preach, or so that we can inspire people, or so that our lifestyle can be an impetus for them to become more Krishna conscious, then whatever type of eating, dressing, habits we may have, and again, it's the same thing. Whatever we do, it's if it's out of fear that people will think I'm different, well, you are different. And as Henry David Thoreau said, we should march to the beat of a different drummer. Otherwise, everyone who has ever reformed society was different. And those who are in charge of maintaining the status quo will always be in anxiety by those people. So anyway, the mentality of wanting to conquer society with Krishna consciousness means every day you go out, take a few books with you. When you see a nice person, give them a book. That's how we do it. You don't have to become, go out 8 hours a day and distribute 300 books. It would be nice, but just take a couple books, take a little prasadam. If one's working with other people, you take a little prasadam. Just like when I was in the army, every day I would make 30 sweet balls in the morning, and I would take them with me, and I would give them out to different soldiers. And because I was working in the chaplain's office, so people would come for counseling, I would get everybody prasadam and give them a Bhagavad Gita. And so, I was just trying to take advantage of that situation. So if we take advantage of every situation, try to give some prasadam, try to give the holy name, try to make a friendship so that we can come closer to people. That will take away that fear of being different. Being different is good if we use it properly for Krishna. So we have one question here from Parameshwari.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, can I ask?
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for your class. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I always have problem for understand the karma and the souls decide to do bad deeds, bad actions, and I'm trying so hard that reading so many books and Bhagavatam about what the person do, then he deserved that and this. But when I see the humanity, and I saw so much souls, they are choosing to be very cruel with others and do very bad deeds and actions. It's very I cannot understand why a soul can decide to go so deep in the experience to hurt others and forget complete. If we come from Krishna and we have all this divinity and this light, and we can be able to have all these beautiful qualities, how a soul can choose to go so deep in the darkness of the experience of the in this material world? How it's very difficult. I really sometimes I cannot understand.
How do we help them?
No, how the soul can choose to go so deep in the experience to experience the darkness, to hurt others, or make actions to hurt others so deeply. How a soul can go so deep to want to this, if we are full of we can be also have all these beautiful qualities of Krishna that be
So you're talking about devotees?
No, I'm talking Guru Maharaj, in the humanity, we can see the things we read in Bhagavatam that is happening in the hell is really we don't need to wait for the hell. It's happening here.
The reason that anybody acts badly is because what I just quoted from Bhagavatam, Ishara Petasya Vishparyayo Shviti, when we want, as Jesus Christ said, when you want to give, you want to take more than you want to give. So when you want to take, then you create anxiety. And when you take something from someone, they react, and then you react, and then everyone reacts, and they're all reacting. And that reaction, people become angry. And when they become angry, they fight, and they become more envious, and it just goes on and on. Therefore, Krishna says, in the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives the answer. He says, why does that happen? So I'll just look up that verse because I never memorized it. So 16th chapter. I think it's like verse number. Yeah, I never, it's a good verse. I should have memorized, but I never did. Tamaham dishita kruran samsarishu naradama shipam yajasram ashubham asureshve vajonishu. Those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, I perpetually cast into the ocean of material existence, into various species, demoniac species. Why did they do that? Bewildered by false ego, strength, pride, lust, anger, the demons become envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in their own bodies and the bodies of others, and blaspheme against real religion. Why do they do that? Self-complacent and always impudent, deluded by wealth and false prestige, they sometimes proudly perform sacrifices without following any rules and regulations. So what is the result? Attaining repeated birth amongst species of demoniac life, O son of Kunti, such persons can never approach me. Gradually, they sink down to the most abominable type of existence. So there, Krishna answers your question. That it all starts out with just wanting to take something. Therefore, in the Bible, the story of Adam and Eve, it all starts out because Eve sees an apple and she wants to eat it. Seems very innocent. But the act of taking, that's the whole message, which people miss. They miss that message in the Bible. They miss that message in Bhagavad Gita. As soon as you want to take from Krishna, then you are on the pathway, which gets worse because you want to take more. And then when you don't get what you want, kama, krodha. After kama, I want, krodha. If I don't get it, I become angry. If I do get it, kama, krodha, lobha, I want more and more. And if I don't get more, or if I get more, then moha, illusion. And then mada, I become intoxicated with material happiness, with power, with pride. And by that, then matsarya, envy. I become envious of others. And someone wants to take from me. Just like in this country, the USA, many people are materially prosperous. So what do? They exploit so many other countries to maintain their material. They don't think about it. They don't think about the fact that we're enjoying life in a nice way, and other countries, they're suffering like anything. So we give a little charity so that I feel good. Give a little charity, and some people give more because they're a little more religious or pious, but they never give up their selfishness. They never give up their desire to be better from others, better. So people don't think about that. Actually, we have to give up this taking mentality and go. Therefore, we see the greatest servants, Srila Prabhupada, Haridas Thakur, all the servants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even Jesus Christ, even Mahoma. What did they do? They serve, they serve, they serve. And therefore, I read that quote from Srila Prabhupada, sadhus, they take risks for the benefit of others. Otherwise, they give up their personal comfort for the benefit of others. And that's what creates an auspicious atmosphere. Actually, when we help other people, Sometimes initially when we help them, they try to take advantage of us. But we keep trying to help them. Eventually that will penetrate through their anger and their frustration. Just like in Mexico, we have some young girls that are very frustrated and they're lashing out with violence because they're frustrated. But if we keep trying to help them, eventually, if they're devotees, they will realize that here is the help, and they will, their consciousness will change. This is Krishna consciousness. No. But if we ourselves become affected by lust, anger, greed, then how will we help others? If we're not in the serving attitude or that attitude of sacrificing, even my life, my health, not your health so much, you have to keep good health to preach. But even some devotees sacrifice their health, like Jayananda Prabhu. He sacrificed his own health for giving Krishna consciousness to others. He was in a clinic in Tijuana, a cancer clinic, and he was making a little progress, and he was giving Bhagavad Gita class every day. And then they said, no, you can't do this. You can't give these classes because people are here to cure. And he told the man, he said, but this is the best cure. He said, no, you can't do it. So he left. He could have his body could have become cured, but he was so desirous of preaching that he couldn't wait. So even Prabhupada gave up his own health. Even though he told us to take care of his health, he gave up his own health for giving Krishna consciousness. So if we're not willing to take some risk, and I never tell anybody to risk their health, but risk your material comfort for helping others and your mental comfort also. Give up, don't just try to be, I don't want any anxiety. I just want to be peaceful. Well, you can't be peaceful unless you're fully Krishna conscious. And you can only become fully Krishna conscious, as we just read, by engaging in Krishna conscious activities. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaran, the essential activity. So here we have a question.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
With reference to Dhruva Maharaj, his strong determination out of envy and revenge. Otherwise, how to increase my determination in getting closer to Krishna? In Dhruva Maharaj, he was envious, but because he was pious and he took shelter of Narada Muni, his envy got converted into great determination because he was a Kshatriya. No, because he was a Kshatriya, he couldn't give up that spirit of competition with his brother, who he saw was being favored by his stepmother. So there was a little envy there, but mostly it was great determination to have something. But then when he realized that the only way to have something was Lord Vishnu, he became purified, because Narada Muni could see that he couldn't just preach to him and say, give up everything. No. So what did he say? Do these austerities and you will get what you want. Because Narada Muni knows that what the soul wants is to love Krishna. So he engaged him in devotional service by chanting the name of Narayan, and then Narayan, because his chanting was done with such great determination and austerity, Narayan appeared before him. So Narayan will appear in our hearts. Narayan will appear in the holy name. Krishna will appear in his holy name, and he will purify our hearts. And then that determination to chant without offenses will bring us closer to Krishna. That's the real determination that we should have.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. I just spoke to Mother Shandy. She's having some difficulty with her microphone, but she just wanted to make a comment.
Okay.
She said devotees in LA Temple, they are careful but not fearful. And they're actually doing very wonderful in books, in book distribution. She said actually they are doing more books, and they even want to acquire a new warehouse. So yeah. She was just inspired to say that.
Yes, that's wonderful. Thank you very much. That's what I'm talking about. We don't want to be foolish. We don't want to expose ourselves to a condition where our health or something is put at risk. but we also don't want to become fearful. Just take the proper precautions and be Krishna conscious and distribute books. And of course, in the US, it's a little different because you have a bigger audience, like different from Trinidad. And also they have big mailing lists and they can, but if you make that effort, you can get onto a yoga mailing list and you can contact the people, you can contact yoga societies and say, here I have some Bhagavad Gitas, and you mail it to the people. There's so many things we can do even without physical contact if we make the effort. And if we want to be part of the preaching effort, if we want to be part of the Sankirtan movement. So I think for today, I will have to stop here. I have some things I have to do. And so I think if you allow me, we'll stop here and we'll continue next week, hopefully. So let us thank you very much, and let us all become servants of the Sankirtan movement. Give up any fear and anxiety due to bodily condition of life. Take the proper precautions and preach Krishna consciousness, serve the deity. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will rain his mercy upon us. Thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Ki jai.
Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.
Jai.
It's already Guru Prasad Swami ki jai.
Krishna.
Hare Bo.
Jai.
Hare Hare.
Prasad Swami ki jai. Hari Bol.
Gauranga Hare.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare
Gurudev
Krishna.
ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Gurudev. Hare Krishna.
Oh.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Jai Krishna.